I feel like these videos are getting shittier and shittier in terms of like production. The next one I'm gonna be like passed out on my pillow. They're also probably getting longer and longer because there's just more and more to uncover. Last night was the strongest, most powerful journey I've ever had so far. But there's still tonight. It was so different from the night before, which was high speed, intergalactic, energetic. It was a place I was very comfortable in. And yesterday just kind of really broke me down. I had a feeling it was going to be different. It's funny, like you drink and you drink and it's always the same thing, but it's always so different. Like like you can tell it's DMT space, but your experience is so different and it's so trippy, just how different it can be. You know, with other substances, and this is not a substance, but let's say cannabis, like usually it kind of feels the same every time you consume it. But this just so wildly different every single time. And so last night it was the Divine Feminine, and it's a woman shaman. I wish I could remember her name right now, but I can't. Who serves the medicine, and it's pretty rare, from what we hear, to have women serving the medicine. And but here at Rythmia to do it, and it really creates a very special ceremony, very much in the Divine Feminine. And what that means, for me at least, it brought up a lot of trust and surrender and stillness, and also death and destruction, so that the new can be born, a lot of rebirth. It was that kind of energy. And so instead of things going into galactic outer space, for me everything went underground inside my body and then under the earth. I felt like I was navigating the tunnels of the underworld, which is rich, like just woof, so complex, just unbelievable. When the vision started, it was a lot of like reptilian type. I've heard of the reptilians out there in the universe, and I feel like a flock of them was like passing me by. They were just like traveling through right there, and then I know I'm saying this so like nonchalantly, but it's a big deal. Then a snake went inside of my mouth and into my body and through my body and out my mouth again. Just kind of decided to check it out, see what's there. And it wasn't like a beautiful, smooth snake. It was all DMT pixelated snake. For a while, I was really with the reptiles. And at some point, I realized that I felt like I had water in my throat. Like I had been underwater, not really breathing. And I sat up and started coughing a little bit just because it felt like I was drowning and choking. And look, I'll be honest, I can't tell in which order things happen, so I'll try to get everything out and stick it together. Hopefully it all makes some kind of sense. There was a lot that happened. I received a surgery on my throat chakra. I couldn't quite tell who was performing it, but after the reptilians left, my mouth just like opened so big, like, and then my tongue just like rolled out, like felt like it was 10 feet long. And I was instructed to just hold super still, and I did. And before I knew it, it was done. And I did feel a difference in my throat yesterday. Today, not so much, but I'm feeling a lot of other things. So who knows? This might take time. All of this, all the things that I'm learning, that I'm going to be integrating afterwards, they take time and require patience. It's not going to be like a magic switch, like poof, everything I learned is now part of me, or everything I received is now part of me. I'm going to have to give it time. So the throat thing is one of those. I'll see how my self-expression goes, and maybe in a few months, a year, 2 years, I'll be like, whoa, that did work. That was like, I feel way different about the way I express myself. After that, coming back to the sort of the surface, I started seeing the rebirth. I felt like everyone in the Maloka was in an embryo cocoon, and some people were emerging. And I started experiencing the whole birthing process, not for myself, but just witnessing it. And as I was witnessing it around me, I quickly shifted to starting to witness my family, Davina, the kids. And just getting a video reel of our family, because it was going through the whole life. Like, life was playing out as a movie in front of me. And the movie of our life got up to where it is today. And I was asked, do you want to see more? Meaning, do you want to see a flash forward? And I know flash forwards can be really tough to watch. Like, they fuck things up. It just makes time seem weird. But, I'm on this trip, and I will go into the difficult things because that's where the good stuff resides. So I said, yes, I'm ready. I can handle this. And I started seeing the kids as teenagers and as adults, and Davina and I as old, all the way up till death. And it was hard to watch. Not in like that I saw anything bad. Everything was beautiful and perfect. But just like the notion of time, it's a lot to hold on to. I think that was on my second cup of drinking. The first one was really the reptilians. The second one was really the rebirth. And what happened when I went to get the second cup, I was already like just feeling it so much. I haven't felt this drunk since Davina's 25th birthday, where we went a little overboard in New York City, and we both blacked out, but managed to walk somehow back to our friend's apartment. Anyways, it's a story for another day. So I haven't felt this drunk since that day. Like, it was so much. I couldn't tell up from down. Everything was just like spinning, but I was handling it. I was like, I got this. I can navigate. And so when I went for the second cup, I only wanted to drink half of it, but I forgot to ask the shaman to only give me half. So she brings me back the full cup, and I only drink half of it in front of her. And she goes, are you going to drink the rest? And I say, I'm saving it for later because I wanted to. Or, I don't know, not have it, whatever. And she goes, that's okay. I'll keep this for you. And she like smirks a little bit, takes the cup with her and places it on the table behind. And I was like, oh, fuck. I know what that means. Like, she wants me to come back and drink more later. So anyway, so when I went through all the rebirth stuff on the second cup, and I started to come back to a state where I could put my feet down and maybe get up, I felt like there was a rocket ship waiting for me to take off. And that was going to blast me into like outer space. And I was being told that I would be on this incredible adventure, and I would uncover a lot of things. And then a beautiful reward would be waiting for me on the other side. But in order to strap into that spaceship, I had to go and drink that third cup, or the other half, second, whatever, it doesn't matter. And so I wrestled with that for a while, and I could feel the shaman kind of calling me in, even not physically, but just like energetically. I was like, I need more time, and I just kept trying to get up. And finally, I managed to like stand up and walk up to her, and like I wobble over, and I was like, I just go to her and I'm like, I accept your challenge. I will have the rest of that cup now. And she chuckled, and instead of just giving me the other half, she fills it up and brings it over. I'm like, oh shit, now I have to drink this whole thing. And I drink as much of it as I can, and it goes down fine. I still haven't like purged up until that point. And I tell her, I trust you, because I did trust her. I could see how the room was this beautiful place of trust and surrender, and the music was earthly and nothing was too crazy. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful space. So different. The night before, the music was like electronic, and this time she was the one guiding the energy in the room. It was such a beautiful like thing to witness. So I tell her I trust her, and I go back to my mat. And as I walk over, there's not even a moment where I'm starting to feel nauseous. It goes from nothing to I need to throw up. So I just like managed to make it to my mat. I fall to all fours, and the medicine just goes back up. Not a full purge, but just what I just ingested needed to come out. Not all of it, but a good portion of it. And then I felt much better. I was grateful for the practice purge, because tonight we're drinking yahe, which is supposed to be a much stronger medicine. So I don't know if that's the one that's going to make me purge or not, but I feel ready. Something that I've made out to be more scary than it needs to be, and So this like practice purge was pretty painless because I accepted that it was what it was. So I go and sit down on my mat and into a meditation pose, very stoic and sitting up straight. And what I realized is that there was no rocket ship that was going to take me anywhere. That it was just my mind, or not. No, it wasn't my mind. It was, I thought it was the shaman placed a trick, and she was just being playful, like a little kid, like hee hee hee, see what I did. Very innocent, joyful, playful trickster were all the words that were coming to me, and she just wanted me to drink more and enjoy more. And I was just chuckling to myself. I was like, oh, phew, there's no rocket ship, because I was ready to do it. And then I realized that it's not about the quantity that we drink, because, you know, I had one full, one half, and then 2/3 of another one. We get so caught up in the quantity of medicine that we drink, but it's not about that. It's about facing our fears and being brave and strong. And so the key here was just for me to get up at that third time and commit to it. It was showing that commitment. That's what the lesson was there. So at that point, I had a pretty bad headache. I really was starting to really feel it there. And I was trying to do all kinds of tapping and putting agua florida, which is this beautiful smelling, delicious liquid. Not delicious because we don't taste it, but yeah, it just purifies and cleans the energy. I was trying all the things. And finally I was like, okay, let me try Reiki on myself. So again, to my Reiki hands, activate my hands. I really shook them immensely, like just like trying to really activate my hands, get the energy flowing. And then I bring them to my eyes, to my head, to my ears, to my heart, to my chest. And then the floodgates open, and I started seeing Max, how shitty of a dad I can be sometimes. And I'm hard on him for like silly reasons, and I displace my own frustrations, my own shit onto him, and he doesn't deserve that, and I can just do so much better. And I just started sobbing for how painful it is. And so I'm just crying and crying and releasing and releasing. And finally that stops after a long little while. It felt good to release that. And then I started seeing him and I and my father-in-law, so his grandfather, playing on the beach and kicking the ball to each other and just having a good time. And I realized how simple it is and doesn't need to be more complicated than that, to have joy for all of us, especially for Max. And I go back to just crying and sobbing over the simplicity of it and how, you know, I don't have enough of it in our day-to-day, and I want to bring more of that into our lives. And then I start seeing Davina and the reverence that I have for her and how amazing she is, and how I failed to show her how deeply I feel for her. But I also feel how close we are to this divine union between the two of us, and we've been working at it for so long, and we can get there. It feels attainable, and I get this really strong sense of what my role is and what I need to do to bring us into a deeper union together. And I know what I need to do from here on. At some point earlier too, when I was really feeling how divine feminine the room was, you know, on the other night I was there, I was part of channeling the energy and moving it and funneling it and playing around with that. I was in it. This time I tapped into my divine masculine, and I thought I was meant to be on the outside, to be the container that holds the divine feminine. That's how the masculine and feminine energies work at their core. Masculine sets the container, and the feminine can then dance in it and do the death and destruction and rebirth and all of it. And I was sending out a message to all my fellow brothers, all my fellow men, that for all of us to step into our divine masculine, to start understanding how that works, and to take down our walls, and to be more vulnerable and honest with our feelings and with ourselves and with our partners, and to stop like having macho-y, bro-y attitude to everything, because that's what fucks shit up in the world. And there's just so much of it right now, and the more of us that take down our walls and step into the healthy and the divine masculine, the more we're going to make space for the feminine to do its thing. And then we can all start living in a little bit more union, not just with our partners, but as a society. While I was like watching the feminine energy dance, not physically, literally, but just like the vortex of energy, I could tell just how the seduction aspect of it, it's so like flowy and like, free and wild and beautiful. And it's like, it seduces you. And I could feel myself and other male energy be seduced and like start getting drunk off of it. And then the male energy starts creating a story around it, like, ooh, she wants me, she's calling me in. But then those needs that are created off of being drunk, basically, they're not met, and then that creates resentment, and then that gets projected onto other things. It was just, I don't know if that made sense, but like that's what men experience. That's what we're conditioned. That's why a lot of men expect sex from their partners instead of being in a deep place of mutual intimacy and commitment and giving and receiving. And like, I've been there. I'm not saying this to judge anyone, because that was me as well, and it still is me sometimes. I still see it. It comes up to the surface. And I think it's important for us men to hold that energy and to stay strong in our ability to hold the container, and for the flow and the seduction to flourish in it, but not get completely swept away to the point that we start building stories around it, because that just creates more toxicity, and it hurts and wounds the feminine, or it hurts and wounds the masculine because it's not reciprocated, or it hurts and wounds the feminine because we impose ourselves and then they can't trust the masculine and then the container is broken. It's so simple, but so hard to explain at scale, and it's a felt sense. It requires a lot of deep inner work. I hope this resonates with some people. Oh my God, that's not even the end of this. Like, that was so much, yet there's more. After that, I decided to go outside a little bit. I thought I would just sit under the stars and enjoy that, but the stars just felt so far away, and it wasn't for me that night. And so I went and sat in the hammocks, and I felt myself under this tree, and the tree was really nurturing me back and taking care of me. And that's what I needed. I needed an earthly being to take care of me, because I felt really broken down by my experience so far. I still had this crazy headache. It just wouldn't go away. And I was calling in for help, just please help, but no help came. And then I started to focus on the pain on my head. I was like, let's work with this. Let's see what it has. And I recalled on a mushroom ceremony a few months ago, I saw my head get chopped off, and I knew that it was part of a past life. And so I decided to go with it. That's all I knew about that past life at that point. And the tree really calmed me down and put me in a deep place of stillness. I felt so still, the kind of stillness that I can't get to normally. And going into that stillness allowed me to start having visions about past lives. And I first went to that one with the head being chopped off, and I saw myself as a writer in France in the 1700s. It was just me and a dog. I was in my late 20s, early 30s, or so it felt. And I was writing, but I was starting to see the injustice of the government, how it was suppressing our freedom as humans, and all of the control and power it was accumulating. And it was crazy. Like, it felt the same as it does today. There was no difference, except there were horses outside and we would throw our poop out the window. But the feeling of life was the same as it is now. Pretty crazy. And I started to speak out about the government and the injustices and all of that. And as I got louder and louder with my message, I eventually got captured by the government and brought to guillotine. guillotine. Not sure how to pronounce it. Guillotine. And my head was chopped off in front of a large audience, as they did back in the day. And I carried this with me in this lifetime because I often feel the need to shout the messages of injustice and of wanting freedom for all. And I feel the need to shout it out on social media and to argue with people who might not see it yet or who have different opinions or different worldviews. And I know that that doesn't serve anybody well. It creates further separation, which is not what we want. But it was helpful to understand where that stems from. And, you know, as much as I feel the urge to do it, like I'm able to not, and to instead have conversations in private, to just shine the light on what I feel is truth, which is love and unity and community. And, you know, that's how we abandon these old broken systems that are in self-destruction anyways. From there, I traveled to another past life. That one was in Japan, which I got a glimpse of, I think, on a meditation journey several months ago back home, back in Canada. And I basically, the death, it starts with the death. My plane was shot down during World War II, and the death was very quick and painless, pretty instant, so not a lot of suffering there. And I left behind a wife and a son, and in that lifetime, the wife was the soul of Charlie, my daughter, and our son was the soul of Max, my current son. And in that lifetime, Davina and I knew each other, and maybe we had something at some point. So there was a connection, but we weren't together, at least not at the end of that lifetime. And then I went to a third lifetime. I asked how many there has been, and I got a high number in the 70s or 80s, which is not important. It is what it is. And every time I would go through a past life, I felt like a little knot on a thread was being created on the thread of life, which is interesting because the night before, I felt like I picked a thread out of the universe. And I didn't know at the time what it was, but it turns out it was an opportunity for me to explore past lives. And then I saw myself. Well, I saw that I died in another life as an 8 or 9-year-old boy. And that's all I got from that one. So not much other information. After those journeys, I started to come back a little bit, and I turned around and stayed in the hammock, but put my feet in the dirt, which felt very nourishing from the earth. And I gave my thanks and my gratitude to the tree that allowed me to have this journey. And I returned inside, and my headache was still there. It was still there. And I realized the headache was my mind trying to hold on to everything I was experiencing and to try to start telling the story and how I was going to recount it for this video and for Davina. And it was just a lot to hold because so much had happened. It was just so much. And the mind couldn't contain it. I had nowhere to go. And I invited the mind to just like make a little crystal ball with all that it wanted to say and express and record, and to put a bow around it and store it for later. And it helped a little bit, it alleviated the pressure a bit, but it didn't fully go away. And finally, they closed the ceremony and everybody was in the front for a closing circle. And I decided to do a little rapé to just really try to ground myself because I was so out there and so drunk and so bad. And I bought this new rapé here, and so I hadn't tried it yet. And I did it, and I've never done rapé like this. It just completely turned my mind off instantly, just like, and I started feeling my entire body, just like on a cellular level, like I could just feel everything. I became so still and quiet and present, and I tuned into the closing talk, and there's no more headache. There's no more trying to record anything, no more trying to tell a story. It was just complete, pure presence. And it was extremely powerful, and it stayed for the rest of the night. It was beautiful. I'm so glad I did it. No more headache. I felt so much better. That was a lot. It was really a lot. I still felt very sad this morning, but I had a beautiful conversation at breakfast with some new friends, and I was just reminded of the synchronicity and the beauty of all of us being here at this time. And I managed to kind of get myself in this place of gratitude and appreciation, and start letting go of some of the sadness I was carrying from the day before. And the sadness is totally fine, but I was ready to turn the page and start new and drink some more medicina tonight. If you've listened this far, thank you. And I have 2 more ceremonies, and I will do my best to come back to this video and to record more.